Having good budgeting skills and knowledge is essential to the creation of generational wealth for your family, and also even the knowledge to pass on this baton of this generational wealth to your children and grandchildren. Hello everyone, my name is Mabel. Hence, this channel is called Ask Auntie Mabel, because on this channel, I provide answers to questions that has been sent to me regarding various life issues or challenges. So, if you are new to my channel, please subscribe to my channel. And if you are returning subscriber, so you are welcome. Today's video is the third of a four-part series of videos that I use to answer a question that was sent in by a subscriber, a gentleman in his 40s, who wanted to learn from the mistakes I made when I was in my 20s, 30s, and 40s. So today, in the last two videos, I addressed the mistakes I made, the money mistakes I made around my children and my own personal decisions. Today, I'll be addressing the mistakes we made as a family unit. I will summarize these mistakes into four groups. The first one is lack of proper budgeting knowledge and skills. Secondly is wrong purchases, making the wrong purchases, buying the wrong things. Thirdly, is not starting to invest or save enough early. The fourth part is allowing families back home to make the decisions for us of the things that money choices that we made or invested in back home. Now I will elaborate on each of them. The first one, budgeting, of course. You know, those days, things were not, this budgeting thing that everybody now talk about wasn't where mostly talk about the way it is being talked about right now. But even then, although with my basic knowledge of accounting and generally that I was generally money savvy, I did have a weekly budget, like, okay, how much, or monthly budget of our outgoings and our incomings and stuff like that. But it wasn't done in a very concrete manner. And it wasn't something we sat down together as a family. Although initially, before the children arrived, it was much more easier. But as soon as the children arrived and life got very busy, it wasn't something that we really did sit down regularly and review and discuss properly and make the concrete plan. So I think it's really very important that you start learning to do that, right? For those of you who are listening to this video. Then the second part is the wrong purchases. I think this is an area that many of us really need to be mindful. Sometimes I think we have this poor money mindset, thinking we don't have enough to plan. And sometimes even when we start planning, or we just buy impulsively because we need the things that we are buying. Let me give you an example. In our time, those of you who have been in this country long enough, we understand what I'm talking about. There was a period where they were selling these big bulk volumes of encyclopedia to us. And they make it sound so important. Your children, they have the junior encyclopedia, they have the major ones. And in most homes that time, when you go to the living room, you see this big volume of encyclopedia. I didn't really buy it because I was buying because other people had it. But it's just something that was sold to me, and I fell for it because I saw the poster, the paper or the leaflet in a shop, and I picked it up as they will suck you in. I called the number and the gentleman just made it sound out. They'll come and talk to you about it. And by the time they came to the house and talked to us about it, and remember, we had this mindset that we're going back home. So we thought, oh, this would be a good investment for the children. They sell it to you as if it was a good investment for your children. Obviously, internet was not readily available as it is today. Nobody will sell that to you anymore. But they are still selling other things to you guys. So that's why you have to be very, very aware. You just need to be on your guard. And when people buy something to you, the rule of thumb now is put it in the cart, put it in your basket, and go back and leave it for about 48 hours and really go back to see if you really need that thing. So also there were others that bought pots. There was these gold-plated pots. So if you remember those gold-plated pots, leave it in the comment section for me. But I didn't buy those ones. So but we bought encyclopedia. They will make it sound so the payment was so minimum that you have to pay, a minimum payment for it, a monthly payment. So we just say, we'll be using part of the children's benefit, child benefit to pay for this because it will be like an investment for them. Some people bought those pots thousands of pounds and they were paying in installment as well. And that one, they will sell it to one person and ask that person to give you the names of other people. So they call those people. So there were so many other gimmick and things they were selling that time. And other things we're buying were these wrappers, because they were selling Hollandis in London at the time. So we buy so many, even when you don't really have enough money. There were some women, African women, Nigerians, who were selling them. As soon as they bring them in, you just go and pick a couple. You pick for your mother-in-law, pick for your mom, and pick for yourself. And some of those things we were not really using them. We didn't really need them. We could buy a couple, but we didn't really need as much as we were buying. Then that brings me to the children as well. So there were some certain purchases that we made for the children. And okay, like in the teenage years, there were things like, there was a time August was doing this special package for Christmas. Although it didn't sound so expensive, it was about £300. They would give you treadmill, cross trainer, and then throw in what's it called, snooker table at they'll tell you say same price or half price. But by the time you put all together, you just realize, and sometimes you don't really even we don't think it through properly, that you don't really have enough room for these things, and the children are not really going to use them as much as they appeal during Christmas. So that's one thing. So by the things we got right were things like the gadget. And from the very beginning, I just told my children I was never going to. Anyway, those days, many of us thought the gadgets were not very good for children, because the initial stage, people were made to believe that, okay, children being on the screen for too long, we're even monitoring how much television they watch and all of that. So things like the gadget, I was able to manage that. For example, I think the first Xbox I bought for my children was a combined one, and I told them I bought them Christmas gift, and I did say that it's in the new year when it's on sale that we would buy the Xbox, and that will manage one. I told that the following year when they now say it was Xbox whatever, they increased the number. I just said no, I'm not buying any more numbers, because once they tweak it a little bit, they just want you to upgrade. If you guys are ever going to upgrade, then you're going to have to buy them with your money, when you're older. I know when my daughter was much older, as a teenager, she bought the Wii game, and that was very useful to us. We're using it for exercise, and myself and herself really benefited for that, and even the brothers as well. So there were quite some good purchases we made, which was good value for money. Now, this brings me to the point of savings and investment. I think we didn't really think this through properly. Like, if you watch my previous video, you will see that I was referring to how many of us just didn't really think we're going to stay in this country. So we're thinking, we just spend a couple of years, save up some money, and just move back to our country. And which, as things deteriorated back home, it never really happened. So I think that mindset really stopped us and really prevented many of us from investing early in this country, like things like property and other good savings investments. So most of the money we're just earning, we're just to solve problems back home, and even being this I would do concurrently with being the things we were made to do back home. For example, the watchword was, you have to build a house back home. And sometimes they are making you build this house in the village. So when you actually come to think of it, you are not really going to stay in that house in the village. So I'm not saying people shouldn't build houses in their villages, but be mindful. And I know some of us is cultural that we have to build this big mansion. We know it's a trend. We have to. Some people, I'm not going to mention the tribe. We know ourselves that building a big mansion is like it's a must, and they have the reason for that. There are valid reasons which I'm not going to cover in this video why people have to build that mansion because of historical experiences they've had in the past. So, but for many of us, when we actually relocate, we are going to stay in the cities and probably visit village once in a while. So I'm not saying you should, if you have to have most, if you have a house that you should have in the village, just do a small bungalow that is just 3-bedroom bungalow can take care of those visits you do to the villages, to your village. So, and rather invest in the city. And sometimes I think in hindsight, I think I would have rather invested in landed property, just buy plots of land. I would have appreciated so much now that I would have just been smiling and laughing rather than those brick and mortars that you built. Like every year you have to be renovating, repainting it, and redoing one thing or the other, and it's just another money expense cow that just kind of suck. You take your money every time for all the upgoing repairs and maintenance. So I'll cover more of that in my next video, where I'm going to be talking about the mistakes we make around wider family network, wider friends and family network. One of the things I think I'm very proud of that I think we got right was being able to take our children home regularly. That was just so important to us, and it's really something we did very well from not quite when they were small, from when we were able to take them. We were taking, like when my youngest one was probably about 5 or so or less than, I can't quite remember now. So we started taking them home regularly from that time on. And it was really very important to me that obviously they met my dad the Christmas, and the following August he died. So the fact that that's very memorable for them, that they took the photos they took with him and the interaction they had with him, that was very good as well. And that just built they have good relationship with their uncles on both sides of the family, their cousins, and they know the country, they know our country very well. And what it actually made, and I just want to use this to admonish all of us. I know the country is not very safe and very good right now, but there are still safe ways of visiting home. I know this Christmas, I can see a lot of YouTubers who visited their villages, those who even visited Nigeria, and they've all come back well and good. But even if you feel you don't really want to do all of that, you can still take them to the cities and just spend some 2 weeks, show them the land of their birth. It's very important for them to connect to their roots. Like what actually the icing of the cake for me and my children was that when I went back to study for a degree in 3 years, for a 3-year degree, that was really helpful for me because I've experienced not being able to take summer holiday where you will be, as all the parents with children, will you say you can only take 2 weeks holiday during the summer holiday. But when I was studying, I had this 6 weeks or sometimes nearly 7 weeks holiday, which was like a big bonus for me. So over those 3 years, myself and my children and my husband, sometimes, obviously, he had his own business and visit that he has to do at random. So, but for me and the children, I planned it for those 3 years. We were actually spending the whole summer holiday in Nigeria. That really grounded my children. There was one of the summer holiday that I actually took them. I said, that's the 2nd year of my study. I said, the second summer, I said, this time we're going to focus on your dad's side of the family. We started from Lagos. They came to meet us at the airport. We started from there. Took them to different parts up the way to back home in the village, those who were back home, and even those who were in Zaria. We took them across, those in Abuja. It was really eye-opener for them. And up to today, when my daughter talks about Nigeria, sometimes some people actually, she that was born here and raised here actually know Nigeria more than some people who are actually born and raised in Nigeria. So that's really very important for me. And even when we started our charity, when we officially launched it, that was one of the summer holiday we launched, and they were part of that process, which has given my daughter the insight now to start thinking of actually doing something similar, social enterprise and things like that back home in Nigeria. So yeah, there was that. For me, is just the biggest treasure. When I treasure it, you can't quantify the value in money for that. So there were some other things obviously we got right. So I wouldn't want to dwell on that so much. But like I said before, we have a community behind the scene. On in my previous channel, we already have a community group in my membership group. So we are really exploring all of these things that people really want to do. Whatever part of the African countries you are from, any other part of the world or Caribbean or wherever you're from, we are having discussions at the back and in small support group where we are exploring all these opportunities and ways we can really make a difference and create this generational wealth that is very important to all of us. So on that note, I will say thank you very much once again for listening to me today. Please subscribe to my channel, and please share this video. And I really want this. Please help me to grow this channel, because we are going to be doing a lot more of all these issues that concerns our everyday life. And on that note, I will say thank you once again. Goodbye, and I will see you in the next video.